time to move to the next step in the psychedelic revolution. We reached a certain point, but we're not moving anymore. Welcome to Psychedelic Sundays. This is the Psychedelic Renaissance.
To stop bemoaning the current state of the digital economy, I kind of flipped my whole perspective on it in a moment and went from feeling really sad about the virtual rape of land and people and labor and society and culture by these digital behemoths, and realized I think the freaks set a trap. I think whether or not we planned it, I think we may have actually sown the seeds for the collapse of corporate capitalism. I mean, think back to the early internet days. You know, the internet was not some business idea, remember? The internet, I mean, in addition to being a pleasant side effect of the Defense Department's need to create a sustainable, decentralized network, the internet really was popularized by hippies. You know, it was the kids in San Francisco, the acid head friends of mine from college who went out to the West Coast to go work for Intel and Apple and all the other early Silicon Valley companies. These were psychedelics heads. These were the weirdest, freakiest people I knew. And the reason why they were hired to build the internet, to build these interfaces, was because they were the only people really who were used to seeing hallucinations, you know, who were used to living in a world where the things they imagined actually came to pass. You know, it was children, and they were pretty good hackers, and LSD people, psychedelics people. And I would go out to the West Coast and see these people who, you know, worked at Intel or Sun during the day, you know, writing programs for nonlinear fractal equations, and at night they'd be scraping the peyote buds off cactuses and tripping out on DMT and meeting aliens. So these were people who were, I mean, and I was weird, but I was just theater weird. These were people who were 2 or 3 or 4 notches further into weird than I was. And it was these people that built the net. They built it. They weren't really thinking about business. They were thinking about, you know, sharing and networking. Everybody did things for free. They wrote programs, even the programs you're all using today. You know, our email programs and video programs. These are all just snazzy versions of programs that people wrote for no money. Shareware like Eudora and See You See Me and all the other programs that we built in order to communicate on these things. You know, but the people who pushed it, the people who really said, hey, it's okay, the water's fine, come on in, these were people at the very heart of the Aquarian conspiracy. You know, this was Timothy Leary and Robert Anton Wilson. It was, you know, Howard Rheingold and Willis Harman, who were the people who really brought LSD to Stanford Research Labs. It was Stuart Brand, who was publicist for the Merry Pranksters and publicist for the acid tests, who, you know, went to the first meetings of the you know, the Homebrew Computer Club and launched the Whole Earth Electronic Link. You know, and then, because something weird and sexy and crazy and cultural and wonderful was going on, money started to pour into this stuff. You know, and what made the internet sexy, what made it so strange and cool, was that people were working on it for free. People just did it because it was fun. They were connecting in strange ways, having conversations about things that they couldn't have by the light of day. It was a real alternative to the kind of yuppie culture that was building, you know, in the mainstream society. Most people coming out of college were not going to California to make computers. They were just going to work for Payne Weber to become stockbrokers. You know, and we were building an infrastructure for a kind of a video game future that ended up attracting business. Now, I got really bummed out when business started to come online. I couldn't even believe when people told me, oh, there's this new company, Amazon, that's going to sell people books on the internet. I thought it was a joke. I didn't think it could possibly last. I thought these were This was the one thing I was really, truly, deeply wrong about was I thought these would all fail because the internet was built as a play space, as a no business zone. You actually had to sign an agreement to get online saying you promised not to do any commercial activity, that you were going to use it just for research, because it was as if we understood this was a pure new realm for human engagement. But no, but business came on. Tons of it. They hooked up banking to this thing and corporatism to this thing. Everything got hooked up to the internet. Stuff that really shouldn't be here. It's not that safe a system. This is not a secure system. You shouldn't be doing your banking on it. That's fine. Come on. So Chase and everybody, they're all on the internet. Everybody's doing business and transacting, and we get encryption, and they start growing their business. The capital starts pouring in until we get to today. The Amazon, Uber, Apple, Google, Facebook, Twitter, these billions and billions of dollars that have gone online. And on the one hand, I look at it and say, oh my God, look what they've done to our internet. Look. And they're all in this weird, unstable, strange place with these massive valuations, this craziness, all the wealthy are involved in. And I realize what they've done is they've essentially left behind the real world for us, right? We've gotten to the place where if it's not happening online, if it's not on Twitter, if it's not on the net somewhere, it isn't real. It hasn't happened. It's not part of the market. Yeah, but the whole market has now gone into that virtual, strange, digital, unreal place, and it no longer values the real place that we're in. Now, on the one hand, that's a little dangerous, right? Because it can make invisible a lot of destruction that should be in our awareness. But on the other hand, if all the corporations, if all the banking, if all the money goes out there into virtual space, they've left the real world behind. Right? So the counterculture, we used to go online in order to have our alternative culture. Well, now that online space is corporatized, but they no longer see value in the real world. The kissing, the hugging, the looking, the touching, the 5 people sitting in a room and conspiring and breathing together. That's off the grid. And off the grid, turns out, is the real place, and on the grid is the fake place. So I no longer feel so bad about the fact that our internet has been colonized by these corporations and banks, because they've left the real world for that world. And once they're all on there, once that's the only place they know, well, we could just unplug them all and leave them behind. Because the real world becomes the playground. The real world becomes that wonderful, playful, hallucinatory, anything can happen space that we used to call the internet.